amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all.
Tucker is absolutely correct. There is no evidence for Darwinian evolution. There's evidence for adaptation, that is, changes within kinds.
So looks like we got to get into this. This is like a new clip. Yeah, Tucker Carlson was on Joe Rogan, and Ray Comfort's covering it. It's a whole big thing. So we're gonna get into it. I'm Brentley, and this is the Punk Apostate. Let's go.
Someone contacted me through our ministry and pleaded with me to do a video on Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson talking about the things of God, from life's meaning to evolution to demon possession to the reality of Satan. It was a long 3 hours, but I was able to capture the cream of their very interesting conversation just for you.
Like, for sure, the Kenneth Arnold sightings, that was really early on. That was like the early 1950s. He was seeing these flying saucers, these discs that were moving over mountains.
Well, right. I mean, the prophet Ezekiel writes about it in the first chapter, wheels in the sky.
These aren't UFOs. Tucker gets a little closer to the truth than Joe. Joe thinks they are UFOs. Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 1 to 39 is actually describing the incredible creatures that surround the throne of God.
And that's not as cool as the alien thing. Stop. There are a bunch of weird looking aliens weird looking angels that have eyeballs all over it.
Yeah, that's a crazy one. Boy, when you
well,
read
it is
that,
crazy if you read it. It's like, oh wow,
yeah,
and
so and
not just the Hebrew scriptures, like it's all over every
the Vedic text,
of course. So
what is he talking about there? It's all over every text. What? Aliens, things in the sky, what?
Or spiritual phenomenon. There's no evidence they're from another planet. I mean, I think that's the lie, that they're from Mars. Look, space.
There's no evidence that it's from another planet. That means that they're spiritual beings or whatever, right?
The atmosphere is really well monitored, right? Both for defense reasons, but also because like it'd be nice to know when asteroids are coming.
Didn't we have like a balloon that we couldn't track? Like, wasn't there a balloon that just like they said was a Chinese spy balloon that just sort of floated? Yeah, the atmospheres are so just well maintained.
And there's no evidence, has never been any evidence that there are lots of these objects, these vehicles coming into our atmosphere from somewhere else, some other planet. There's no evidence of that at all. So
Joe's not having it, man. It's so funny when you see Joe Rogan because he's gotten so good at this, like, don't push back. Don't tell them they're flatly wrong. So instead of doing that, he goes, no, that's for you to continue. I don't have anything to add here. You go.
So they're from here and they've been here for thousands of years, whatever they are. And it's pretty clear to me that they're spiritual entities, whatever.
There's tons of evidence for that. That's where the evidence is at. Okay.
What that means they're supernatural, and which is to say, supernatural means above the natural, above the observable.
Well, hey, Tuckums, how are we observing it then, buddy?
Nature, and they don't behave according to the laws of.
He's getting lost in his mind. There he is. Look, and they don't. Did I leave the stove on? I had that Texas toast. Left the house in kind of a hurry. Aliens. I'm sorry. Aliens. Yeah.
Science and they've been here for a long time.
Are we very important in the universal sense? Not really.
It's funny too. I love at the beginning. He's like, it was a long 3 hours, but I had to make it through it. Like, he's like so indignant to whoever this was that was like, can you cover this clip? Can you cover? Look, they talked about a bunch of stuff. Everybody's talking about it. You got to cover this. And he's like, I got to watch 3 hours. 3 hours.
In the end, as Conan O'Brien, the famous philosopher, once said, every grave goes unvisited, which is true. And that's an important perspective. Pull out the lens a little bit. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It's like, imagine.
I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. What was that? What did that have to do with anything? Every grave goes unvisited. Oh, I think it's because Ray's trying to pick out all the death stuff. That's right. Because he wants to scare you of death. Never mind. I take back what I said.
Mentioning your God. So, like, don't jump into
it.
Outcomes you can't predict with certainty.
This is so true. Man makes his boast and thinks he's like God, but we are but men.
But mean what, man? I don't know what but mean is. Like, what are you saying?
Boast of tomorrow because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. We don't take one breath without the permissive will of God.
We don't take one breath without the permission of God, right? But then nothing's God's fault though. Like everything happens because of God allowing it, but God's not responsible for anything. All the evil in the world, all the problems, God's not responsible. It's like they bounce back. Oh no, like that's sin. That's because of sin. That's not God. That's not. No, he is only good. The good stuff. The good stuff. That's it. God.
I mean, and maybe a good use of nuclear weapons would be to hit the data centers. No, I'm serious. Like, why is that crazy?
It's not.
Again, Joe Rogan trying to not say. Because it's crazy. What, man? What do you? And first of all, I don't know what the context is here because Ray's doesn't know what's happening, so he's just zooming us in on punchlines with no setup.
It's not if you think that human beings are the end of this evolutionary chain.
Well, what else is? Some supercomputer in a data center outside Dulles Airport? No.
So they're talking about transhumanism? Is that what we're gotten here? Like, geez, Ray, can you set us up at least a little bit, man?
I mean, you know what I mean? I don't actually think that individual.
Whoa. Did you hear that laugh? Wow. And even Ray, because I've seen this clip. Let's see somebody else cover it. He laughs really weird right there for like a full half a second. And that is just deeply uncomfortable. And even Ray was like, I gotta take that. I'm cringing right now. We gotta take out that laugh. Don't ever laugh. Stop.
I don't think I'm that important. My life is that important. I don't. I will die. I know that. And I try to keep that in mind every day.
But you're
like Steve Jobs. Tucker Carlson keeps in mind every day that the day will come when he will die.
Like Steve Jobs. What? That was a name drop out of nowhere. What? Why is he bringing him up?
Our job as Christians is not just to remind people.
Oh, nothing. No reason. He's not even going to follow it up. He's not even going to make this make sense at all.
Of that appointment, but to tell them they can do something about it. To tell them the good news that Jesus Christ has abolished death and brought life and immortality to light through the gospel.
It feels like he contradicts himself just right out the gate. Okay, because he's saying Jesus has conquered death, but his whole thing is trying to get you afraid of death. Which is it, man? How is he conquering death while you're also being like, everybody dies? What the hell? He didn't conquer death then, man. If everybody dies, he didn't do the thing that you're saying he did.
But you're important to everybody that cares about you. You're important to the people
but
around you.
If we don't think people are important, then what do we think is important? I guess that's what I'm saying.
Not necessarily that we don't think people are important, but if evolution is real, and if there is this constant, I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that in fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what sense?
Well, in the most basic sense, the idea that, all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's tons of record of adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, through the litter to litter. But no, there's no evidence at all that zero, that people evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all.
Tucker is absolutely correct. There is no evidence for Darwinian evolution. There's evidence for adaptation. That is, changes within kinds. Dogs changing into different dogs. You've got the Chihuahua, you've got the Great Dane. They're both dogs. There's changes within kinds, but there's not changes from one kind to another, let alone man and primates having a common ancestor. No evidence.
We are primates. He like misstates it. Like he at least says the common ancestor part, right? But we are primates. That's the category that we are in with chimpanzees and stuff. We have a common ancestor with chimpanzees.
Whatsoever, it's all received by blind faith.
Right. That's it. Yeah. That's what's received by blind faith. Got this article And here we could like we're saying, like the momentous transition to multicellular life may not have been so hard after all. This is from science.org.
Less than 1 billion years ago, life crossed a threshold. Single cells started to band together, eventually evolving into the riot of shapes and functions of multicellular life today. It's been thought that the evolution of multicellularity must have been a major genetic leap, but new research suggests that it wasn't such a difficult transition after all. Scientists looked at an organism that seems closest to making this leap. Choanoflagellates, while single-celled, resemble the specialized cells that line the channels of sponges, which are considered by many to be the most primitive living animal. A lab found 350 gene families in choanoflagellates, once thought to be exclusive to multicellular animals. The findings suggest that this single-celled organism is already equipped for multicellular life. A single cell's life is simple but limited. Like hermits, microbes need only be concerned with feeding themselves. In contrast, cells in a multicellular organism give up their independence. They take on specialized functions. They sacrifice their progeny for the greater good.
Point is, we don't exactly need a fossil record of it. Like, I don't know why he's putting it in those terms, as if that's like the only kind of evidence that would matter here. We have so much other evidence that we can look to. It's not like it's not like we got nothing. Like, and even before we had this kind of evidence that they can do in the lab with bacteria and things like that, they were able to go back and look at certain layers of rock and have microscopes and whatnot and check it out, and you can actually see single-celled organisms from billions of years ago, which is why we are looking at these single-celled organisms the way that we are and watching them develop. And it's actually really fast. There was one experiment that I was looking at that said that it happened within, I want to say, like 100 days or something. They could see it becoming more and more complex. Anyway.
And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution, because the theory of adaptation is clearly, obviously true.
We gave up on evolution. When did that happen? Now, I know. Well, okay. So I think what he's trying to say, because they always caveat this with Darwinian evolution, right? And then like, oh, we gave up on Darwinian evolution. And it's like, no, like he set the basis for the model, and then we have updated this model given new evidence ever since. So technically, yeah, it's not Darwin's model anymore, right? Because there's a lot more that goes into it. But it's still, that was the basis of the model that we have built out from. So and saying that we just gave up on it is not true. We've just specified it. It gets more and more specific as we get better at being able to evaluate it.
But Darwin's theories totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later. No, we have not found that at all.
And the thing that irritates me about this is this guy goes to he went to like Harvard. He knows what a science theory is, man. He knows what is going on here. He's just pandering to his idiot base. That's all this is. Because he knows good and well that a theory, like a scientific theory, is close to a fact as science will allow. Science doesn't make proclamations of truth. That's what makes it science. We can always update it, right? But a theory in science is what you are unable to demonstrate that it's false, right? Which means that that's is as close as we can get to fact. It's just like the theory of gravity is still a theory. That we have the law of gravity, but the theory behind that law is like why gravity works the way it does. It's pretty conclusive, yet it's still a theory.
And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your
See?
theories?
All right there, and you can see he's playing a game here. He's like, I have my own theory, so he's bouncing back and forth between like science theory and the word. It's an equivocation fallacy. He's bouncing back and forth between the colloquial, I have a theory, like I just kind of think a thing, but in science, that's not what it means. And he's bouncing back and forth between those two definitions for the same word. So it's just an equivocation to try to confuse the audience.
God created people, distinctly, and animals.
So what do you think happened? Well, magic. Magic is what happened. I mean, obviously, it's magic. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like, I think what every person on earth thought until the mid 19th century, actually.
Right. Stupid. And I like how he cuts out right there because Joe was about to be like, yeah, and that's stupid. You know, we used to think that cutting people open to cure disease was a good idea too, man. You know, we used to think that. You going to go back to that? No?
Nothing more. Like, there are a lot of people who seem to be just like for evil for its own sake. And you're like, maybe all
What?
the like
who's for evil for its own sake other than you, buddy? Like, you know, never mind. I take it back. I take it back because yeah, there's people like Tucker that's evil for evil's sake.
crazy talk about a spiritual war of like good and evil. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's not an illusion. Maybe that's like everyone else has always thought that.
But
Maybe,
there are certainly forces that have evil consequences that exist.
but they act on people from the outside. And you feel it also on the other side. I mean, I grew up in the most secular
What was
world
that?
you could ever grow up in. Southern California in the 70s and 80s, and in a very secular family. And I've never really paid much attention to that. And all of a sudden, not everyone, a lot of people I know who had similar childhoods to mine, similar life experiences, are like, maybe there is like a supernatural realm. Maybe there's more than just like what we can see and feel. Maybe life is more than just ordering it on Amazon. Maybe there's like a purpose. Maybe there is this back.
This is what happens when you don't look at the instruction book or you don't believe it. The Bible is God's instruction book. Almost every appliance comes with an instruction book because the manufacturer knows how to make things work best.
Oh man, I bet he loved that one. He's like, oh yeah, the manufacturer. Oh, that's brilliant. That's why we gotta have this book. Okay, it's given to us by the manufacturer.
We were created by God for God. All things were created for his pleasure, and our pleasure is God's pleasure. If
Really? So we're a bunch of just sex toys for God?
you don't believe the Bible, you'll have no idea why you're alive or even the purpose for your existence.
Even the purpose.
Around us,
Dude, you don't either. This is what gets me so like insane. It's like all these people that just refuse to question anything. He's just like, I know exactly why I'm here. Like, we're just looking at you going, you don't know though. We're just being honest about this, right? We're on a rock flying through space. We don't know what's going on, and we're all trying to figure it out. And you're going, I got it. And we're all like, no, you don't, man. No, you don't.
I've been cruel to people, probably even already on your show in ways that are unjustified. That's my instinct to do that.
Because you're an ass, man. It's not everybody's instinct to be an ass. You know that?
That's a fault, not, not something to brag about. It's something I'm ashamed of. So I'm not saying I'm always on the right side. I certainly have not always been on the right side. I've been on the wrong side many, many times. But that doesn't change the fact that there is good, there is evil. They are at war with each other, and we are subject to the effects of that.
That there is a good, there is an evil. It's constantly at war with itself. And it's like none of that means anything. All you're talking about just human behavior, or humans trying to figure out how to behave with one another. And sometimes humans do bad things to other humans. Yes. Okay. But that doesn't mean that there's any like spiritual warfare going on. It just means that humans are complicated. We're not perfect. We're imperfect beings, and we make a lot of mistakes. And then we have a lot of emotional drives that cause us to do things that are not great. It doesn't mean that there's some evil force because of a mythological, magical being from the Bible that's like telling everybody, make sure you're bad, make sure you hurt people. Like that's not what's happening. And then the ironic part is that the people that believe they're doing the will of God are the ones that a lot of times are the ones hurting people. We have women in waiting rooms of hospitals being shoved into the waiting room so that they can have a miscarriage on the floor because of Christians believing that they're saving lives. Anyway.
Conflict, and that we're seeing it suddenly play out in ways that are really, really obvious.
Hold on. I gotta play this.
There's no political explanation for the trans phenomenon. Nobody benefits. You can say, see these right wingers be like, really, it's all about the people who make synthetic hormones. They benefit. Yeah, okay, they benefit. But it's not driving it. That's stupid. It's not about the money, actually. There's no upside. It's not helping the kids at all. If a child has anorexia, which is pretty common actually in this country, and the child thinks she's fat, you don't say to the child, yeah, you're fat.
Okay, not the same thing, man. It's weird when you have to conflate things that are not anywhere near the same. Okay, just identifying as a different gender and feeling comfortable with your gender is not the same thing as having an eating disorder. That is, these are two completely different categories. It's so weird when they try to put these things together.
You don't do that.
Right.
You give the child,
and we do have evidence that it's like helpful to giving, you know, the people that have these conditions, giving them the treatment that we are prescribing by mental health experts leads to good outcomes. We've seen the data. It's demonstrative, better for the mental health. It's just, we have it all around. The data says that it is actually better for them when they get the treatments that we've decided upon.
help if you can. It's hard to treat, but you try. If a child comes to you and says, I think I was born in the wrong body, the last thing you do is affirm that. It's hurting the child. Like, why would you do that? If you love the child, you wouldn't.
That's not what they're saying. First of all, that I was one of just, I feel comfortable living this way, dressing this way, talking this way. Like, these are like, I feel more comfortable living as this type, you know, this person.
You do that. It's really an
not the same thing.
exercise undertaken for the sake of destruction, for the sake of hurting someone. There's no real upside.
That's so weird. What is he talking about? Why would people be doing this? If it was just, I like destroying stuff, so that's why I'm doing it. No, man. What? That's insane. Good God.
What's another phrase description of that? It's evil. And you see that a lot.
Yeah.
And why? Like, what is that?
What is it?
You're just evaluating it as that, man. The other people that actually go through these changes and stuff are happy with their lives. The parents are happy with them being happy with their lives. Like, they're fine. Everybody's fine. It's not destruction for destruction's sake, and weirdo.
Why is it so obvious to even a completely secular person like me, all of a sudden?
You're completely secular person? What are you talking about? Wait, it's so weird. He's doing the Tim Pool. He's doing the, I'm not even a Christian. Like, I'm a secular person. What are you talking about? No, you're not. You're so obviously driven by religion, dude. You're so obviously pandering to your religious base. It's to sit there and do, oh no, I'm a secular person. I just happen to agree with all the Christians about literally everything.
This is quite amazing. Even a secular person, a natural man who doesn't understand the things of God or the spiritual realm, can see that all this is demonic in origin.
There's a reason for that. History is moving really, really fast. We're right in the middle of it.
I said, if I was Satan, if Satan was real, I would do that.
Exactly.
If Satan's real, if Satan was going to do something insidious and unbelievably creepy, he would do that.
What? I missed that part. What? That's funny. And he just cuts it up. It's like, why didn't, I don't know. Ray sucks at this. I swear, I don't even think he watched the 3 hours. I think he watched like a couple little parts and then just clipped it to pieces and then put it out. If you want to support the show, you can support us by supporting our sponsor, adamandeve.com, and entering that code word Brentley at checkout, or you can become a patron and go to patreon.com/punkapostate, and it's all the stuff that YouTube takes down because they're like, this is copyrighted, or you got too dirty on that one. You can't have that. So just all sorts of stuff that they force me to take down is up there. But if you want to just do a one-time payment on Cash App, I appreciate anything you can do. And our cash tag is Punkapostate. Obviously, like this, like the first, I want to say like the second week of membership, and we've got like 13 members. And so big thank you to all the members. On the next one, I'm gonna like read a list so that we can give shout outs and everything. So we have the memberships. We got cool like emojis that come with it. You also got cool little badges that are fun. The emojis are custom made, and one of them, yes, is Fat Mike from NoFX, the band that's up in the corner, the right corner here. See, that's I don't know if you knew that. That's a NoFX poster from a long time. Anyway, but yeah, so you can become a member there, and you got all sorts of stuff you can do. And one of the levels is the Comfort Butt Banana, which is a dildo shaped like a banana.